As women get older, losing weight becomes more of a challenge. Some people turn to fad diets with the promise of quick results, but that is not always the healthiest route, of course. So the question is, what's the best way for women to knock off a few extra pounds? Well, joining us with some answers is Dr. Sharon Giese, a New York City-based plastic surgeon. Nice to have you with us. This is one of those conversations that we all seem to have at some point or another. So, women struggle with weight as they get older. Why is that?
There's a couple of different reasons. I mean, part of that can be simply age, but also likely hormones play a role.
Sure.
And women's fat can redistribute when they get older. So what happens with their hormones is the estrogen can go down, but also can the testosterone. And not as much as men. So men keep that lean muscle mass more than women that can drive the metabolism as well. So I think that the hormone balance is something, and staying active is very important.
Yet another thing we're dealing with. All right, for some women who are trying to lose 5 or 10 pounds, what do you recommend to them when they come into your office?
Well, it's always going to be something that's healthy. So things that are going to really make someone feel full are really making sure you have healthy, lean protein and good fiber that you're taking. And of course, always staying hydrated. But the medical research has shown that losing weight is difficult over time. So what I've seen in my practice over the past 20 years, and it's not uncommon that I recommend that women will lose weight even if they're coming in for a liposuction procedure, because they may have gained 15 pounds.
Sure.
And I'll say, well, I can take off 5, but you have to lose another 10. And so I could see over time that a lot of women weren't doing that. And when I went back to the literature to read why, it's simply that it's difficult to lose weight because you feel deprived. You're depriving yourselves, and your craving to eat is actually very, very strong. So fortunately, they've come up with some FDA-approved drugs right now that are very effective in naturally suppressing people's appetite.
So I feel like everyone's heard about Ozempic, but there's an active ingredient in that you talk specifically about,
which is semaglutide. And this was really one of the biggest discoveries in medicine. And what semaglutide is it's a peptide that we have naturally in our body. And what it simply does so smartly is that it makes you feel full faster and full longer. And then that sends feedback to your brain that you're satisfied, so you're not having those cravings. It also kind of levels out the blood sugar, so you're not having those impulsive cravings just to grab something. So it's very, very smart in how it works, and it works naturally.
Okay, pros and cons, because I feel like you've always got to do, is there a but?
Is there a but? Yes. Any medication can have side effects. And so the side effects, thankfully, with semaglutide are minimal, but it can be nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea are the most common ones. And generally, those are temporary. And once someone's acclimated to the medication, that disappears usually in 2 to 3 weeks. So that's the good news on it. And the pro, obviously, is that people are losing weight.
How about keeping it off, though? I'm curious about that, because there are people that don't want to go the medication route. So are there foods that can offer that same benefit, or is that what we're still talking about with being deprived?
Yes. So the foods that are the most important that are going to fill you up are good, healthy, lean proteins, fiber, which I think that most people don't get enough of either of those, and leafy green vegetables. So I always say focus on that. And when someone's on the semaglutide, they're naturally going to start changing some of their behaviors. And I'll say just pay attention to that, because this is not rapid weight loss, and no healthy, real weight loss is going to be done rapidly. And so if you pay attention to what are your behavior modifications, that's what's going to help you to keep the weight off.
All right. Well, good to have you talking about this. I know there's been a lot of questions, especially about Ozempic and what to do and not to do, and who should do it and who shouldn't.
I think that I look at that as there's 2 different groups of patients. And the primary group of patients that they were looking at were ones with either type 2 diabetes and overweight, or obese. But I think there's an equally important and interesting group, which are the non-obese patients that have been relatively understudied because they really weren't looked at as being sick. So the way that I look at that is it's someone who's overweight relative to themselves, because everybody generally inherently knows what's their healthy, good weight, where they feel better. They fit into their clothes and they feel good.
All right. Thank you so much. Good to have you with us,
You're
Doctor.
welcome. Thank you.
And for more information about elective weight loss, you can visit Dr. Giese's website. You can also follow her on social media as well. Information right there on your screen.